It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, we've all heard this phrase, especially if you're in the document imaging channel and you're really good with leasing. Here's the phrase: where there's mystery, there's margin. Ladies and gentlemen, where there's mystery, there's margin. That might have been a good phrase in the 80s, the 90s, maybe even the year 2000. But in the year 2025, that's as dysfunctional as hell. That's like saying, let's continue to overspec and oversell A3s. They'll never figure it out. No one else is telling them anything different. Well, guess what? Now they're hearing different stories. Now they're being presented different options. Now you got OEMs going direct to end users with different programs. The same thing's going to happen with leasing. Ladies and gentlemen, in the document imaging channel, I want to ask you a question and be honest with the answer. If you had to share with your end user the invoice that you sent to the leasing company to fund the lease that you just got that customer to sign, would you be okay with that? Would that invoice match everything you told that customer? Would it match the buyout that you got to include in the invoice? Huh? Or are you including it? Are you hiding that even from the leasing company? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, truth in lending is coming. It's already on the shores of California, and it will come across the country. And they're going to open the book. They're going to open the book on the mystery. And hopefully you all can still make some margin. And the way you're going to make some margin is you're going to improve the way you deliver. You're going to change the game. You're going to add other services. You're going to get into managed IT. You're going to get into things that bring value to the customer, consulting. But you're sure as hell not going to be able to depend on the margin in the mystery of your leasing. So I ask again, if you had to give the invoice that you billed the leasing company to fund the deal the customer just signed, would you be okay with that? And if you wouldn't be okay with that, you better get okay with it real quick, because it is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, the document imaging channel, they are fantastic at leasing. There's no doubt about it. Congratulations to every single dealer out there, every sales rep out there. You knock it out of the park. But now it's time to use your creativity, to use that phenomenal power of financing and do things different. Be the dealer that uses integrity around leasing as your differentiator. Can you imagine going into a competitive vendor's account that you might maybe have a good relationship with now, and you're building on that relationship, and you just ask that end user this question? Have you ever seen the invoice? Have you ever seen the invoice that the dealer sent to the leasing company when they originally funded your lease a few years back? I'm sure that end user scratches his head or her head. She'll say, I never saw it. You ought to ask him for it. Did I just open up a big old can of whip ass? Probably so. But ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. Truth in lending. Don't wait to be forced to do it. Start doing it now, because it's coming. Do you believe when these huge behemoths like Salesforce, AT&T, our friends at Google I talked about last week, do you believe when they start getting into the space and they start delivering products and services to the SMB space, do you really believe that they're going to use some of these outdated 1990 leasing practices to do it? No, they're not. They're going to be a whole lot more transparent. They're going to try to uncover what the old ways do and a little bit dysfunctional. And we all must admit that some of these leasing practices are extremely dysfunctional. So my challenge for everybody in the imaging channel is this. If you can't provide the invoice that you sent to the leasing company to your end users openly, eagerly, then you got to ask yourself why. And if the answer is, I don't want them to see this, I want to hide some of this, I want to have mystery, well, that means you're doing something for your benefit. You're not doing something for your end user's benefit. And anytime you do that, well, you head down the path to obsolescence. Because it must be about the end users. Just because everybody in the document imaging channel told those end users the same story doesn't mean that story has validity as we go into the future. Be the disruptor. Bring leasing transparency to your dealership. Be the outsider that comes in. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.